Sarah Porter was the heart of Millstone. She was a teacher, a friend, a daughter. Her warm smile and infectious laugh could brighten even the cloudiest day. Sarah poured her heart into her work at Millstone Elementary, nurturing young minds and inspiring creativity. She had a gift for connecting with children, making each one feel seen and valued. Outside the classroom, Sarah was a pillar of the community. She volunteered at the local soup kitchen and organized the annual town picnic. She was the kind of person who brought people together, reminding everyone of the importance of community.
Sarah's life was tragically cut short, leaving a void in the heart of Millstone. The night of July 12th, 2023 began like any other in Millstone. The small town, known for its close-knit community and peaceful evenings, was settling down for the night. The sun had just dipped below the horizon, casting a warm orange glow over the quiet suburban streets. Families were finishing their dinners, children were being tucked into bed, and the town was enveloped in a serene calm. A summer thunderstorm rolled through, leaving behind the scent of rain and damp earth. The storm had been brief but intense, with flashes of lightning illuminating the sky and thunder echoing through the streets. As the rain subsided, the streets glistened under the streetlights, and the air was filled with the fresh, earthy smell of wet soil and foliage. Sarah had spent the evening at home, grading papers and enjoying a quiet night in. She was a dedicated teacher, known for her commitment to her students and her meticulous attention to detail. Her cozy home, with the soft glow of a desk lamp and the gentle patter of rain against the windows, was a sanctuary where she found peace and contentment. Around 10 p.m., her fiancé, Mark Stevens, reported her missing. Mark had come home to find the house empty, and Sarah nowhere to be found. Panic set in as he called her phone repeatedly, each time going straight to voicemail. Desperation drove him to contact the police, his voice trembling with fear and uncertainty.
She had gone for a walk after dinner and never returned. It was a routine she often enjoyed, a way to unwind after a long day. The familiar streets of Millstone, usually so safe and welcoming, now seemed ominous and foreboding. I searched the neighborhood but found no sign of her. Neighbors were roused from their homes, joining the search with flashlights and calling out her name. The community, always ready to support one another, came together in a collective effort to find Sarah.
The Millstone Police Department immediately launched a search. Officers were dispatched to comb through the area, their faces set with determination. The police station buzzed with activity as they coordinated efforts and mapped out search grids. Volunteers from the town and surrounding areas joined the effort. Bringing with them a sense of hope and solidarity, they gathered at a central meeting point, donning bright vests and receiving instructions from the authorities. The spirit of community was palpable as they set out to cover every inch of the town and its outskirts. Combing through woods, fields, and along the riverbank, the search parties left no stone unturned. The dense forest, with its thick underbrush and towering trees, posed a challenge, but the volunteers pressed on, driven by the hope of finding Sarah. They distributed flyers with Sarah's picture and information, plastering them on every available surface. Community bulletin boards, shop windows, and telephone poles were soon covered with her image, a constant reminder of the urgency of the situation. Hoping someone, somewhere might have seen something, they continued to spread the word. Conversations buzzed with speculation and concern as neighbors gathered to discuss any potential leads or sightings.
Days turned into weeks, and the relentless passage of time weighed heavily on everyone involved. The initial surge of energy and optimism began to wane as the reality of the situation set in. The initial hope that Sarah would be found safe and sound began to dwindle. Missing person posters, once vibrant and hopeful, now seemed like haunting reminders of a growing despair. The faces of community members, once filled with determination, now showed signs of worry and fatigue. The community held candlelight vigils, praying for her safe return. These gatherings became a source of comfort and solidarity, as people came together to share their hopes and fears. The soft glow of candles illuminated the night, casting a warm light on the faces of those who refused to give up hope. But as time went on, a sense of dread began to creep in. The once lively streets of Millstone now felt eerily quiet, and the ominous clouds that formed overhead seemed to mirror the growing uncertainty and fear that gripped the town. The question on everyone's mind remained: what happened to Sarah?
Weeks later, a break in the case came from an unexpected source. A local farmer ploughing his field on the outskirts of town stumbled upon a shallow grave. Inside lay the remains of Sarah Porter. The discovery sent shockwaves through Millstone. The hope that had flickered so faintly was extinguished, replaced by an overwhelming sense of grief and disbelief.
The news of Sarah's death hit the community like a physical blow. The woman who had brought so much joy and light to their lives was gone, taken from them in a senseless act of violence. The investigation intensified, shifting from a missing person case to a homicide investigation. The questions that had haunted the town for weeks took on a new urgency. Who could have done this to Sarah, and why?
Unraveling the truth, evidence, and suspicion. In this chapter, we delve deep into the intricate web of clues and uncertainties that surround the case. The journey to uncover the truth is fraught with twists and turns, each piece of evidence adding a new layer to the mystery. As the investigation progressed, a disturbing picture began to emerge. The detectives meticulously sifted through countless documents, re-examined every piece of evidence, and conducted numerous interviews. Each step brought them closer to understanding the dark undercurrents that had been hidden beneath the surface. The focus shifted to Mark Stevens, Sarah's fiancé. Initially, Mark was just another person of interest. But as more information came to light, the spotlight on him grew more intense. His demeanor during questioning, his alibis, and his interactions with Sarah were all scrutinized. What initially appeared to be a loving relationship was revealed to be something far more sinister. Friends and family who once saw them as the perfect couple began to share stories of their turbulent relationship. Behind closed doors, the reality was starkly different from the facade they presented to the world.
The police uncovered evidence of Mark's controlling behavior and Sarah's growing fear. Sarah's friends recounted how she had become increasingly withdrawn, often making excuses for Mark's erratic behavior. The once vibrant and outgoing woman was now a shadow of her former self. Text messages revealed a pattern of emotional abuse, with Mark constantly belittling Sarah and isolating her from her friends and family. The messages painted a harrowing picture of a man who sought to control every aspect of Sarah's life, from her social interactions to her daily routines.
Forensic evidence found at the crime scene further implicated Mark. The meticulous work of the forensic team uncovered traces of Mark's presence that he had tried to erase. Every fiber, every fingerprint, every minute detail was analyzed to build a case against him. His fingerprints were discovered on a gardening trowel recovered near Sarah's body, a trowel that was later confirmed to be the murder weapon. This piece of evidence was crucial, linking Mark directly to the crime scene and the act itself.
Witnesses came forward, recalling instances of Mark's volatile temper and jealous outbursts. Neighbors recounted late-night arguments, and friends spoke of Mark's possessiveness. These testimonies added weight to the growing body of evidence against him. The pieces of the puzzle were falling into place, painting a grim picture of a relationship marred by abuse and ultimately tragedy. The once idyllic image of Mark and Sarah's relationship was shattered, revealing the dark and dangerous reality that lay beneath. The investigation was now not just about finding the perpetrator, but also about understanding the depth of the emotional and psychological torment that led to this tragic end.
Justice for Sarah. The trial and verdict. The trial of Mark Stevens was a media sensation, gripping the small town of Millstone and capturing national attention. The courthouse was constantly surrounded by a throng of journalists, eager to report every detail of the proceedings. The small town, usually quiet and uneventful, found itself at the center of a national story, with news cameras set up outside the courthouse, broadcasting live updates to the entire country.
The prosecution presented a compelling case, detailing the evidence of Mark's abusive behavior and the forensic evidence linking him to the crime scene. They meticulously laid out the timeline of events leading up to Sarah's tragic death, highlighting the numerous instances of Mark's violent outbursts and controlling behavior. The forensic evidence, including DNA samples and fingerprints, painted a damning picture of Mark's involvement in the crime. They painted a picture of a man driven by jealousy and rage, a man who had silenced Sarah to prevent her from leaving him. The prosecution's narrative was one of a toxic relationship that had escalated to a fatal conclusion. They described how Mark's jealousy had turned into a dangerous obsession, leading him to commit the unthinkable act of murder to keep Sarah from escaping his grasp.
The defense argued that the prosecution's case was circumstantial, relying on conjecture and speculation rather than concrete proof. They contended that the evidence presented was not sufficient to definitively prove Mark's guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. The defense team worked tirelessly to dismantle the prosecution's arguments, pointing out inconsistencies and gaps in the evidence. They pointed to the lack of eyewitnesses and suggested that Sarah's death, while tragic, was not a premeditated act. The defense proposed alternative scenarios, suggesting that Sarah's death could have been the result of an accident or a moment of uncontrolled anger rather than a calculated murder. They emphasized the absence of direct evidence linking Mark to the crime at the exact moment it occurred.
However, the jury ultimately sided with the prosecution, finding Mark Stevens guilty of second-degree murder. The courtroom was filled with a tense silence as the verdict was read, followed by a mix of relief and sorrow from those present. The decision marked the end of a long and emotionally charged trial, bringing a sense of justice for Sarah, but also leaving a lingering sadness for the life that was lost. The verdict brought a sense of closure to the community, but it did little to ease the pain of Sarah's loss. The small town of Millstone came together to mourn and remember Sarah, holding memorials and vigils in her honor. Friends and family shared stories of her kindness and vibrant spirit, trying to find solace in their shared grief. The trial and its outcome had left an indelible mark on the community, a reminder of the fragility of life and the devastating impact of violence.